Chapter 8: Historical Research.
A number of researchers, including some historians, have argued that historical research cannot be considered true scientific research because it does not permit enough precision and objectivity. In other words, it does not have thorough of such research methods as experimental and survey methods.
Nature and value of historical research. The basic purposes of historical research are to provide a clear perspective of the present and to facilitate planning for the future by identifying general principles applicable to recurring set chronology. It may be useful, at this point, to distinguish true historical research from chronology. Chronology can be defined as simply the describing of events in the order of their occurrence, a process similar to the older concept of historical research. Importance of historical research to librarianship. Historical research can make specific contributions to the advancement of library and information science.
As Basha and Harter indicate,
historical research can contribute to the body of knowledge about librarianship. It can increase our understanding of how, when, and why past events occurred, and it can expand our appreciation of the significance of these events. Types of historical research.
Hillway identifies 6 different types of historical research or documentary study.
1. Biographical research. 2. Histories of institutions and organizations. 3. The investigation of sources and influences. 4. Editing and translating historical documents. 5. Studying the history of ideas.
The extent to which these different types are employed depends on the nature of the inquiry and the subject field.
Sources of historical information. The data gathered in historical research can come from a wide variety of sources. Among the more commonly used are the following. 1. Official records, such as laws, deeds, annual reports of organizations, charters, and so on. 2. Newspapers and other periodicals. 3. Eyewitness accounts of event. 4. Archives. 5. Manuscripts. 6. Letters and personal diaries. Virtually all written sources of historical information can be categorized as either primary or secondary documents. Primary sources represent the data which lie closest to the historical event. Secondary, or second-hand, sources may be considered virtually everything not viewed as primary. Evaluation historical research. In selecting specific sources of data for a historical study, it is critical that they be evaluated properly. External criticism. The gathering of external evidence is done to determine if a source in fact provides authentic, primary data. Internal criticism is generally more challenging than external criticism, and it too is often difficult, if not impossible, to achieve with absolute certainty. Basic steps of historical research. Some believe that a historical study should be guided by a formal hypothesis. Others argue for a more flexible methodology such as the source-oriented approach. The hypothesis in historical research. The most significant and useful results of any basic research lie in the generalizations or principles which are derived from the factual data. Collecting the data. The data collection technique for historical research, or at least for documentary research, basically involves putting together in a logical fashion the evidence derived from documents or records. The presentation of findings. In writing the historical report, the researcher should take care to be objective and to preserve intellectual honesty. The dual aspect of the historical enterprise, the effort to establish what happened and the attempt to explain why things happened in the way they did, explains the twofold task in historical writing. 1. To convey a sense of time or to show chronological development. 2. To analyze and explain the interrelationships of the events studied, to detect underlying patterns, to unify the various elements in a satisfactory whole, which provides a response to the initial research problem, using an analytical style or an approach by topic. Library history. Historical research conducted in library and information science has often been referred to as library history.
According to Irwin,
Since libraries function within a larger context, library historians should be concerned with the history not only of scholarship in its narrower sense, but of human civilization and culture and literacy. Biographical research. Bibliographical research that takes the form of descriptive bibliography certainly comes closer to being true research than does systematic or enumerative bibliography. Systematic bibliography. Their purpose is to assemble information about individual works into a logical and useful arrangement. The results are one of the following compilations or lists. 1. Universal bibliography. 2. National bibliography. 3. Trade bibliography. 4. Subject bibliography. Descriptive bibliography. In contrast to systematic bibliography, descriptive bibliography is concerned with the book as a physical entity or material object.
problems in historical research.
A variety of problems are common to most types of research but tend to be particularly important in historical research, including the following. 1. Deciding how much data are enough. 2. Improperly selecting data. 3. Relying too heavily on secondary sources of information. 4. Investigating an overly broad problem. 5. Failing to evaluate adequately the historical data and their sources. Though the methods of historical investigation can be shown to be the appropriate counterparts of the methods used in other sciences to investigate phenomena that specially concern them, there appears to be a general reluctance to accord to historical conclusions the kind of logical validity faith conclusions of other sciences are deemed to possess.
Have a great day.